AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. We are back after 4 months, and we are here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where hopefully one day soon we'll be back with all of you supporting the Five Stripes here in Atlanta. But for the next month, this will be our home, using the Entrance Trophy for social distancing. That'll work. Mike Conti and Jason Longshore. And in a little while, Atlanta United is going to begin the MLS is Back tournament down at Walt Disney World in Florida. Their opponent tonight, New York Red Bulls. And we are going to have a very in-depth preview for you over the next few minutes, which will include live interviews and the lineups, which we'll present momentarily. This is something we're going to do throughout the tournament. We want to give you inside access to what the club is doing down in Florida because, of course, we cannot be there. But it's a really exciting time for the club, for the supporters, and finally, 4 months to the night that we last played in Mexico City, we're going to have a match tonight.
Yeah, it's crazy when you break out the travel bag and that lineup sheet from the Concacaf Champions League is the first thing that comes out. It's been a wild ride, and, we've had fits and starts. We've kind of wondered, where this would go and how long it would take. A lot of credit to everybody involved in getting everybody down to Orlando and doing it safely, and the sacrifice that everybody in the bubble is taking to be able to provide this for us. Thank you to the club for allowing us to do this here and be able to give you guys this coverage.
Well, in fact, Kaiser Permanente was along for the ride as the Five Stripes got down to Orlando a week ago tonight. And this is a road trip. This is a business trip for Atlanta United, just like any other. The difference is this time the supporters groups were out at the training ground in Marietta to see the team off down to the airport. What a great amount of support, and what a big emotional lift that was for the team to see all of you out there on the 4th of July. And then boarding the aircraft at Hartsfield and setting sail via the Delta Charter for Walt Disney World. And if you've ever taken a vacation down to Walt Disney World, you know that gate as they pull into the Dolphin Hotel. This is where Atlanta United will make its home for what we hope will be the next 5 to 6 weeks. Because if Atlanta United is able to advance out of this group stage with 3 matches counting in the regular season standings, they would advance into the round of 16. And then they're playing for not only a berth in the CONCACAF Champions League, but also for a $1 million cash prize. So that's brought to you by Kaiser Permanente. And I want to point out, by the way, that as soon as the players got off the bus, they went right into COVID-19 testing at the hotel. So this is being done very, very carefully, very safely. The MLS health and safety protocols are in place for a reason, and fortunately for Atlanta United, everyone is healthy going into this match tonight.
Yeah, that balance of the new normal we're all dealing with, as well as this is a business trip. I mean, these games count for the regular season. These games are important to get into that knockout stage. 16 of the 24 teams that are participating will go into a knockout round. Those games are going to be as intense as playoff matches. This is that balance of trying to be safe, block all that out when you get on the field for training and for matches, and do the job at hand.
I'm glad you brought up the intensity, because I think that's something we've seen in the first couple matches of the tournament as we look at the moments ahead, brought to you by Equifax. So we're a couple matches into the tournament. It began Wednesday night with Orlando City playing Inter Miami. And yeah, I mean, there's going to be some rust. There's going to be maybe a few fitness concerns early on in this tournament. But this Orlando-Miami match, for example, on Wednesday night, this was a fun match to watch with a game winner in stoppage time.
The quality of the action, it's not sharp yet. That's going to come as these teams get some matches under their belt. But the intensity was there really early on in the Orlando-Miami game, and that's been consistent throughout the tournament. It's tough to be sharp and be in a rhythm early because these teams haven't played. It's not a normal preseason where they've played a bunch of matches to get that rhythm. This is getting fit, but then figuring out the rhythm and figuring out what games feel like on the fly.
Nani was the man of the match for Orlando in this win Wednesday night. He sets up the equalizing goal there in the 70th minute, and look, this is a big emotional win for Orlando City. There's no doubt about it. They have really, really struggled over the last couple years. They're looking for something to jumpstart them in 2020. And again, this counts for a regular season 3 points, but Nani setting up the equalizer, then also being involved in the game winner.
Yeah, how many times have we talked about Orlando needing that signature win? This might be that signature win for them. A late winner from Nani deep in stoppage time. And Chris Mueller is another player who I thought you could put into that man of the match conversation. Orlando typically in these moments has not found that goal from a player like Nani. They did here. We'll see if that spurs them onto a good tournament.
So an early 3 points for Orlando City, which puts them in the early driver's seat in Group A. This, again, the match winner in stoppage time. Perhaps not the most artistic goal scored of all time.
Counts all the same.
It counts all the same. It's in the back of the net. So Orlando City opens the tournament Wednesday night. It got a great TV rating on ESPN. A lot of people watching, and Rubio Vasquez blowing for full time. So Orlando City 2-1 winners on Wednesday. Then Thursday morning, this was another really intense match, Jason. Philadelphia and New York City, two teams that are looked upon as the favorites in Group A, and only one of them came out of this with a result.
And it's Philadelphia, a team that was not better than New York City last year. New York City brought almost everybody back. They were the best team in the Eastern Conference in the regular season, but it's Philadelphia with a statement here in this one. They didn't have a ton of the ball. New York created a ton of chances. Andre Blake was huge in this match, but it's the captain. It's Alejandro Bedoya with the big goal. Philadelphia came in to make a statement in this tournament that they're among the Eastern Conference elite. They did it in their first match.
This is one of those 9 a.m. matches that Atlanta United will, in fact, participate in on Thursday. We'll have Five Stripes After Dawn from Walt Disney World with Atlanta United taking on Cincinnati, and that will be on Thursday. And then Thursday night, this was the other Eastern Conference match that has been played so far in this tournament. You had New England Revolution and Montreal Impact.
That's a great goal from Gustavo Bo. La Pantera is a player you might not know too well yet. He came in midseason last year, scored a bunch of goals, has had to play in a few different positions for New England, but with their attack, they have a lot of firepower. Bruce Arena has a lot of experience in tournament play. He's one of the managers, and this is one of the teams I think you have to keep an eye on. They're going to be comfortable in these types of situations, and if they get saves like that for Matt Turner, they can go a long way.
Yeah, clutch save right at the end of this match. So New England comes out with 3 points, and now they are in the early driver's seat in Group C with Toronto and D.C. playing tomorrow night. So moments ahead for Atlanta United. Those are moments in the past of this tournament, brought to you by Equifax. Well, one of the great things we can do on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff during this tournament in Orlando is check in with the guys down in the bubble at Walt Disney World before and after the match. And Carlos Bocanegra, Atlanta United's technical director, joins us now from the bubble at Walt Disney World. So, Carlos, you've been there for a week now. The team has been there for a week. It's a pretty big personal sacrifice to be away from your family for what could be 5 or 6 weeks. So I'm wondering, mentally, how are the guys feeling going into this match tonight?
Yeah, Mike, it is a sacrifice, and everybody's in this together. Mentally, this whole time, it's a global pandemic. Nothing has been normal. The preparation leading up to this, we've had to adapt. The travel, just everything, we've had to adapt to it. So the mentality for the group is really just, prepare for the unexpected, because we don't really know what's going to come at us. Sometimes with these protocols, there are some funky things happen. We had a thunderstorm the other day with lightning that booted us off our field mid-training. We had to come back in the afternoon. So, it's all these things that we're just having to roll with it. And, what we've talked about is the teams that have that positive attitude that are going to be willing to adapt and roll with the punches, so to speak. Hopefully those are going to be the teams that fare best down here, because it's not normal. It's not an everyday life, and we've got to get on with it. But, it's a big credit to the group. Everybody's had a good mentality. We want to go out here and win this tournament. So, kicking off with a tough Red Bull match to start us off, that's going to get us right into it.
How has Frank and the coaching staff adapted to kind of the new normal in terms of what the training sessions are like?
When we actually get out there on the training field, it's not too different. It's really just the preparation. The guys will get taped up and prepared kind of in the hotel, and then we travel to the fields and do the training out there. And once they're out on the training field, that's normal. It's set up, whether it's cones, mannequins, whatever exercises they want to do, that's not changed. It's a little bit more like a national team setup where, you're utilizing your hotel a lot, and the bus, and you kind of do everything on the fields. We have a performance center here, but we will do a lot of our exercises and stuff out on the field outside. So it's more similar to a national team setup where you don't have a home base. We don't have our training center. So other than that, though, Jason, it's not too different. And really, like I said, the guys have had a great mentality. It's been really good so far. And, just enjoying being back out on the field and getting ready to compete.
Well, it's not an easy start to the tournament when you have to play New York Red Bulls. And they, I would imagine, have been kind of a tricky team to scout. Their last league match back in March against Real Salt Lake, they really let RSL play. They gave them the ball, basically, but we've seen Red Bulls in that pressing style against Atlanta United really pose some challenges. So what do you expect out of Red Bulls tonight from a tactical standpoint?
Yeah, I think, whether Red Bull, like you talked about in the Salt Lake game, whether they let you play a little bit and then go for the press, or whether they get right up on you and press from the start, they're going to press, and they're going to make the game hectic. It's going to be a little bit more difficult down here in Orlando with the heat to do that for 90 minutes, but they also have 5 subs, right? So, we can expect Red Bull to come out in a 4-2-2-2 type formation. You've got Kaku and Valo probably underneath the 2 forwards, and they'll swing wide or stay narrow, depending on how they're going to press against us. But they like to play direct. They like to break plays up, make it difficult, make the games frantic and hectic, like I spoke about. We like to dominate possession, play a little bit more. So it's really a clash of two opposites this first game, and for us, this is a very difficult opponent to come out and play the first time because we've not been able to play against other opposition besides ourselves. So, that's going to be potentially a little bit tricky. That's what has me a little bit concerned. But, our guys are prepared. We're ready for it. We understand what Red Bull's all about. We've played them enough times. They had their overall philosophy and style of play has not changed. So we're not going to be surprised with what they come out with. We have to make sure we match their intensity. We have to make sure that sometimes we can't try and play through the lines every single time. We're going to have to go a bit more direct. But for me, it's going to be a game of fighting for second balls, and who wins the midfield is going to take over this game.
2 players that joined the group right before the stoppage were Mateo Sosetu and Manuel Castro, and now Tyler Wolf's in the group. How are they integrating into the team overall?
Yeah, so we've had a few new faces, whether come back from injury or integrate into the group. But like I said, it's really been, the whole group, from the individual training that we had to the small group to progressing into the full team training. The guys have just been happy to get back out there on the fields, and now we're so close to playing soccer again in a competitive match. So they've been good with the group. We've been able to play 11v11 against ourselves. We've been able to do different formations, different exercises. So it's new guys coming into the group. I think this is almost a blessing for them. We talked about it earlier in the year that we didn't have all of our guys in due to green card and visa issues and what have you. But now you get that chance for our group to be around each other for an extended period of time. And that helps build chemistry, cohesion, and just, really that off the field banter and togetherness that hopefully transfers over onto the field.
Well, Carlos, it's good to see you. And we look forward to visiting with you more as this tournament goes on here on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. But most importantly, go out there and get us 3 points tonight. Great to get the insight from Carlos, and that's something we'll have throughout the tournament here on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. As far as the injury report is concerned, brought to you by Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, here's the good news. Everyone is healthy and available for selection tonight for Atlanta United. The bad news, there's one exception, Joseph Martinez. And you remember this play back on February 29th in Nashville. Joseph suffering a torn ACL. He showed up the next week here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the match against Cincinnati, but only in street clothes. He has since had surgery. And now, Jason, you see him putting in the work at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground.
He's going to give himself every opportunity to participate this season. Don't get too excited to see him right now. It's still a long way off, but he's working very hard to get back.
But they're not going to rush him back either.
No.
That is the injury report brought to you by Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Fingers crossed, hopefully we'll see Joseph at some point this season. Okay, tools to the match brought to you by the Home Depot. It's tricky to do scouting, Jason, for a match when you haven't played in 4 months. And we talked to Carlos about that. But you get the feeling that getting into a rhythm early is going to be critical for Atlanta United tonight.
The fitness has been really good in these matches. I think that was a huge question. But it's been the rhythm that has been a challenge for teams. You haven't played games in preseason, as we mentioned, and that's where you get sharp in preparing for a season. You haven't had that here, so teams are kind of figuring out on the fly. For Atlanta United, without Joseph Martinez, with some new faces in the attack, they need to get as many touches early on as possible. You want to get players comfortable on the ball. You want to get them comfortable combining. That might take a little bit of time early in the match, but it has to be a focus for Frank de Boer's side in this one, especially against the press of the New York Red Bulls.
You know the intensity is going to be there. We've seen that in the early tournament matches, but it could take a little bit of time for the rust to shake off. That's something Pity Martinez mentioned to the media on Thursday.
It's something that you can't replicate in training sessions. You just can't replicate the intensity from an opponent, and that's something that the New York Red Bulls, we know, bring in spades. So it's going to take a minute. The early portion of the game, you're going to see some turnovers. You're going to see some missed connections. These things are common. Whoever finds their footing the fastest will have the advantage in this.
Okay, the tools to the match brought to you by the Home Depot. So Atlanta United getting ready to play New York Red Bulls tonight at Walt Disney World, their first group stage match in the MLS is Back tournament. Who's going to bring the energy tonight? Brought to you by Georgia Power. Well, the man who's brought the energy to Atlanta United in their first 2 league games has been Emerson Heineken, scoring golazos like this one here in Nashville.
Emerson Heineken, in his role, there's a lot of defensive responsibility, but he's been stepping up and contributing to the attack. This is a world-class goal. To be able to take that off his chest and place it, give the goalkeeper no chance, and hit it with power, you're going to need to see Emerson Heineken find that level again. And it's hard because you stop cold, as everybody did. He was in such a great run of form. You hope he can find that again quickly. That's a goal that will hold up in any league in the world.
No doubt about it. So he scores the game-winning goal against Nashville, and it turns out he has the game winner the following Saturday against Cincinnati, and here it is.
And he's a player that, coming in, we didn't really expect him to be one of the leading scorers in this team. His role is more in the defensive side of the midfield, more in connecting the back to the front. But when he can get forward and have the ability to impact in the final third, look at his movement here off the ball. Great ball to split 2 defenders. But then that's a forwards finish. That's not the finish that you typically see from a holding midfielder. The patience and composure inside the 18 and to beat the goalkeeper near post. Very impressive from Emerson Heineken. Love to see that tonight.
Emerson Heineken tied for second in MLS in goals scored, along with Ezequiel Barco coming into the tournament. And we hope, will bring the energy tonight, brought to you by Georgia Power. Lots of players to watch tonight in this match as well. 2 of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, really 2 teams that have been destined to meet each other in the playoffs in recent years. So Mercedes-Benz brings you the players to watch for tonight's match. And let's start on the Atlanta United side with the league leader in assists coming into the tournament, Pity Martinez.
Pity Martinez, without Joseph in this team, a lot of pressure falls on Pity. And just like Heineken, he started the season in such great form in the Concacaf Champions League, in Major League Soccer. And it's goals, it's assists. Pity can do all of it. This is one of the underrated plays from last year. Perfectly placed ball into Joseph Martinez's run. Pity gives you that. But as we've seen, he can get forward and get you goals and get you big goals. You think back to some of the goals like this one against DC, a match winner. he shows up in big moments.
No doubt about it, and it feels like he's in a really, really good place mentally, too. He's talked about trying to embrace more of a leadership role in the team this year, and it feels like he's having fun. It can be a very, very tough transition where you're kind of, I don't want to say rushed into a new league, but there was not a lot of time for him to turn around between Argentina and here, and now you can really see it has started to connect. Now, for New York Red Bulls, number 77, Daniel Royer. And boy, has he been a pest to Atlanta United in the past.
Always dangerous against Atlanta United. 20 shots against Atlanta in his career, 9 on goal, 4 goals, and an assist. Royer's one of the most underrated players in the league, but he seems to have his biggest nights against Atlanta United. There's so many players for New York Red Bulls that you think of maybe before Royer in terms of the attack. He's vital. And it's vital in a number of roles, combination play there. His movement and his reading of the game, he's always in the right spots, and he's always composed. That's a great finish. We hope to not see plays like this from Daniel Royer tonight, but he's one that you have to worry about because he's always done it against Atlanta.
And roster consistency can be really, really important in a restart tournament like this. He is one of the faces, really, of the Red Bulls franchise. He's been with them for a long time. So Daniel Royer and Pity Martinez, the players to watch tonight, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Well, if you've been with us over the last couple years for the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff, you know that we give you the first look at Atlanta United's starting lineup, and we're going to do that right now. It's brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Now, notice there are more players than usual on the team sheet tonight, 23. There will be 3 blocks of substitutions maximum, but you can sub up to 5 players. We'll explain that more in a moment, but let's concentrate on this starting 11, Jason, for Atlanta United.
We think it's going to play out in a 3-4-3. That's the formation that Frank de Boer has typically been in this season, and this lineup makes us lean that way as well. Brad Guzan in goal, center backs Fernando Meza, Miles Robinson, Franco Escobar, wing backs Brooks Lennon on the right, George Bello returns to the lineup on the left, Mo Adams gets the start with Emerson Heineman in the holding midfield, and then a front 3 that's going to be very fluid with Pity Martinez, Manuel Castro, Mateo Sosetu. We expected Ezequiel Barco. He is on the bench. He's not 90 minutes fit. He took a knock in training this week. We do expect to see him today.
We do expect to see him indeed. And remember, again, up to 5 players can be substituted into the match. This, by the way, will be the first time Atlanta United has ever played with this specific starting lineup. Okay, kickoff, 8:08 Eastern Time. You can watch the match on Fox, Channel 5 in Atlanta. You can listen to it on 92.9 The Game. Jason and I will have the call. And make sure to come back to the Atlanta United Facebook page after the match. Jason and I will be back with the full-time report. Hopefully we'll have a victory interview from Orlando as Atlanta United gets set to start the MLS is Back tournament tonight against New York Red Bulls. Thanks for joining us on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff.